unfortunately, still everything's going to be as it was. Now things should change. If the Ashe is a higher priority pick, I'm getting deja vu already. Change something, Supermassive. Gigabyte Marines could honestly just go towards the Gragas again, no problems. And do they still want to go towards, yeah.
This time it's the earlier Lulu.
Makes sense, pick the Lulu earlier, the higher priority champion, get rid of the winning bottom lane. Supermassive should finally this time respond with a Karma, in my opinion, to actually have a better control of the bottom lane, prevent the flex, and to prevent the all-in shield composition around Levi.
Yeah, well, still talking it over with 10 seconds remaining. It looks like they might just take your advice. The Karma is locked in. Now one more pick remains, and there's the Ivern for Stomage, so they're going for a little more protection than they had last time around.
And it's good to see. You have to respect that they have actually gone towards this, so they've calmed down a little bit. The Lee Sin was aggressive. It's not that it was a bad pick by any means. It's not that Stomage had a really bad game, but Levi was just on top of him, relentlessly finding him, preventing him from being a jungler, and just making him a non-interactive player.
Yeah, so easy enough. You pick a champion that can be non-interactive and be a jungler the next time around. It's going to be another Jhin locked in for Slay. Was able to get it done last time. His early kills stacking up really helped him get onto item spikes way before the rest of the team from Supermassive could even respond, and now it's ban phase 2.
And you do still have to wonder why they're going towards this Jhin so early into the game. Like, Graves is a very obvious ban now from the Supermassive side to take that away. I like the Nautilus being removed once again. They can still target the champion pool in the top lane from Fabulous. Gragas seems to have a fine laning phase. They're just a little bit respectful, perhaps, of his champion of choice. The hooks were still connecting, even though it was a losing game.
Yeah, still, just didn't have enough. And there's the Lee Sin banned out against Levi. Probably go back to the Graves if he gets his hands on it.
And the question now is, we mentioned this last time, they've got themselves a Lulu, they've got the Gragas, so they have a tank. They also have the Jhin, so the composition works extremely well with the Kha'Zix. They did ban it in game number 1 Supermassive, but then you're still leaving open the Graves to protect him. Optimus can switch out the Karma for an Orianna and still be able to shield people and protect them.
Right, and there's the Shen ban. Speaking of shields and protection, if they leave the Syndra open too, that's another option for Optimus to go towards.
Yeah, I can definitely look towards the Syndra, especially being on the red side of the Rift as well, having the first rotation after ban phase number 2. If Optimus wants to play it, then he definitely can look towards that.
You can see Supermassive taking their time quite a lot. They do ban the Graves out, so we could expect to see the Kha'Zix in here for Levi.
He doesn't need to pick it just yet. If mid's a shared champion pool, he can put a higher priority on this pick, but as we've mentioned in the past, Optimus has a lot of counters to the Syndra. And so if he wants to throw the gauntlet and say, Naru, come at me, pick your Syndra, let's have a dance. Pick Echo into it, pick Fizz into it. He's got abundance of champion counters to it, including Zilean.
Well, it looks like he wants to get the counter pick at the last moment, so Levi gets the Kha'Zix locked in for himself. It's going to be hard to deal with that bug jumping around.
As expected, Kha'Zix. The team composition, once again, from Gigabyte Marines is pretty much reminiscent of game number 1. Barring their mid laner, the Kha'Zix does something a little bit better than the Graves does to empower the Jhin, but it's not going to be the same respect that the Graves was as a hyper carry. It's going to be a bit more committal in the way that they work.
Yeah, and now the Rumble locked in. Fabulous. We saw him bring this out in game 1 versus the Flash Wolves. Not to a whole lot of success, but maybe he'll have a better chance. Need some more damage on the side. Let's see what the final lock in the mid lane for Naru.
I like this. It's not exactly a counter to a champion like Syndra, but it does do quite well. Range champion, has enough mobility, a bit of move speed, and has the opportunity to fully commit in.
Yeah, they'd round out some solid poke here, and they do. Naru on the Jace now. Final pick over to the Gigabyte Marines. Expect the Optimus Syndra lock in here?
You'd expect Syndra, maybe Orianna, if they want to continue to empower themselves.
But it's Optimus. And it's Syndra.
Yeah.
And it's been left open all the way to the end. So it's locked in, and that's going to be a hard comp to chew through. The Supermassive on the back foot after one game that ended in 24 minutes are going to have to find a way.
I feel like this is something that we're seeing from Gigabyte Marines specifically in a best of series. If they go backstage, they practice for a couple of days leading up to it. They just play 180 carry. Just one slightly off meta pick. It was Ziggs against TSM, and now it feels like it's a Jhin. Something you look at in the draft and you're like, I can see it, but I don't know why they would do it, but they build a draft for it. They change their strategy to reflect one strong thing that they've been practicing this entire time. and SuperMassive aren't getting rid of it. They're still focused on the Ziggs because it works so well. The cannon isn't a necessary ban because they can flex between Slay and Stark, and Stark is a fantastic cannon player, doesn't really have losing lanes, and is good into champions like the Rumble. And then you've also got the LeBlanc, which pretty much has to be taken away from Optimus. So they're forced into these bans, and it means that reacting to the bans leaves one of those three up and available, moving into further places into this series. So it's a really curious dynamic to watch unfold in best of series against the team that just has one incredible strategy prepared.
Yeah. Have to start thinking if SuperMassive go down in this game, they might start to mix things up, but then they leave the floodgates open for some of those earlier successful picks. Gigabyte Marines tunneling on this strategy. It's worked for them once. Can they do it again? Will they go up 2-0 in the series? We want to hear from you guys, of course. Don't forget to hop on Twitter. @eSports is always the place. Hashtag GAMWin if you believe in the Marines, but SuperMassive want to make it happen. So hashtag sup.
Yeah.
Win.
Hashtag sup win. SuperMassive with a lot to prove, remember, as they're about to hop into this game. Gigabyte Marines 1-0 up. SuperMassive on the back foot.
Similar composition for Gigabyte Marines. You got to think that SuperMassive might just be able to play with it, play against it. And the last time around, the Marines were burning down Stone Age Forest, but this time the Ents go into war.
And Rumble was a champion banned away in game number 1, but this time they banned the Nautilus, so Rumble's going to be picked. Removing a tank from the map's going to be nice to have, but still Stomage playing a prized champion for himself, you would have to imagine. They've been getting a lot of victories throughout their group stage with the Ivern locked in, but they're missing the Caitlyn. They're missing the Caitlyn Lulu specifically. It's going to be quite different from them.
Yeah, that's why we've seen Zeitnot default back to the Ashe. More of a utility champion, but can definitely dish damage later in the game. Unfortunately, last time it didn't really ever get rolling because the bottom lane fell out of control.
Everybody lost laning phase in game number 1. I feel like we can throw that one away, pretend it never happened. One thing to note as well, Infernal Drake, again, as expected.
It's a Gigabyte Marine.
Yeah, for some reason, they just, luck of the draw always favors them. But still, so the team composition SuperMassive have got together for themselves is really good at fighting around objectives. If they can ever unlock the Rumble from his lane, bring him down, then yes, they have areas of control that are going to be just immaculate. They set down the red carpet. Naru's got his shock blast in his gate combo, so he'll do a lot of work. Combo that with Karma's area of control or shielding up multiple allies and the Ashe arrows to kick everything off, let alone Ivern. Like, if they're fighting around objectives and they're the ones being allowed to set up in those areas, pick is super easy. So we'll look at SuperMassive and we'll say, yes, they need to actually generate these picks. And how does the vision actually allow them to do that so that it is successful?
Yep. If they can hold on in the early game against potential aggressive moves from Levi, definitely get things going. But this bottom lane does not want to wait at all. A lot of trades back and forth, but Zeitnot's the one who's low. Now Archie is going to fall as well. A lot of biscuits being nommed.
Stomaged is here, though. Dumbledore is wrapping around. They're not going to be level 2 in time. This will definitely work.
Here's the chance. Now here comes Stomage looking for Archie, caught going the wrong direction. Heal is popped. Too little, too late. First blood. Zeitnot is burning down, but they still get the first blood for themselves. It's a 1-for-1 trade, though, in the 3v2.
Yeah, the fact that they trade 1-for-1, incredible from the Gigabyte Marines. I thought Slay was just going to run away. Archie was just the sacrifice in the 2v2, but no, they commit to it. And yes, there is an invade happening, but Fabulous is aware of it.
There we go. It was like clockwork. Levi realized he had a chance to go into the jungle, but what he didn't realize was there was a Rumble right on top of him, flashing, autoing, and now Stark's tagging his way in with the blue buff on the assist.
No
Stark should be able to get the kill. Optimus is going to deny that blast cone pop. 1-for-1 in the jungle trade now.
Throws a scuttle crab at him and says, take that, the neutral chaos will be what kills you. So Fabulous does go down. They trade, but the jungler dies. This is a super awkward start for both of these teams. It's 2-2 super early in, but the support gets a kill on SuperMassive, whereas Slay is still alive, got extra farm, got extra experience. Yes, he didn't get the kill and it goes over to the supports, but there's one big advantage coming towards the Jhin that the Ashe does not actually get for himself. Meanwhile, the middle lane has Optimus with a kill with a red buff with that slight edge in his laning phase now. Doesn't have flash, so he's at risk of dying all the time. But Levi is now behind. He's the one that dies to the Rumble. And so the fact that these kills have happened, yes, there's only 4 kills total, it affects literally every lane at the same time.
Speaking of lanes that are about to be affected, up in the top side, it looks like Stomage is actually going to be backing away. You talked about Fabulous needed to be able to break out of this lane to kind of make an impact. Already did in that jungle, but Level advantage is certainly going to help right now as Stark is kind of locked up under tower on this Gragas. It may be comfortable for him. However, Fabulous is not looking too shabby on this Rumble pick.
Yeah, of course, Stark needs to go back to base. We'll see what he can afford, how many Dorans he gets, enough rings perhaps to keep him in the laning phase itself. Has the teleport, so he'll be okay. It's just a bit of bullying now. Fabulous did roam, but it's a bit earlier than expected from Mr. Fab.
Yep, Levi going down into the jungle. SuperMassive once again, but he's not going to find anything there. Instead, looks like he might be going for a dive with the help of Optimus. We've seen this movie before, Rusty.
Level 3 just ticked over. I don't know about this.
Oh boy, Archie's a little low now. They're trying to close the net. It's sight not down. The Doge is going to fall. They juggle the aggro just enough to secure the kills.
Okay, when I say I don't know about this, I didn't expect Supermassive to walk between the turret and the wall. They just line up for Lulu to knock them down. The easiest kills in the world. Optimus is everywhere right now on Summoner's Rift, impacting top lane, impacting bottom lane. Supermassive, they're trying their best to trade respectively. Doesn't compare.
Ooh,
And he's not far
even
off.
trading 1v1 is just not enough right now as Naru is taking a lot of damage here. Optimus with the flare move.
Asserting dominance through mental games, Optimus. He
Guys
is
still got it.
so far ahead though.
All right, well that is going to be some action up top, but we're in the replay. There we go.
All right, we're back out. Go back to the replay again.
And Stark's fine. Can we get that one again, please? Oh, never mind. No time.
Replays.
Double Doge trying to run his way out, but Levi and Archie right on top of him here. Void spikes, keeping him slowed down, but he's able to get out of Mantra Q, or just a regular Q, I should say. And Double Doge all isolated. Shock Blast coming in for the relief, and they don't finish the job. To the skies goes Naru, trying to squish the bug with the hammer. And he goes flashing, hopping. He's going to make it out.
Is Archie?
No, I don't think so. Slowed down by Candy.
Oh, run!
Oh,
He almost had enough health actually from the red pot that was running, so he's quite lucky there.
Fabulous in the mid lane. Optimus still not level 6 though, so this is actually a pretty solid move for the dive now, even though with Levi coming in. Scout of the week clutch at the last minute, but in comes Fabulous to take down Optimus with Naru and Double Doge low. They still think they can push this mid.
Lots of shields going down, so Fabulous, the Rumble making a big difference. Changes from the Nautilus, picks up the carry champion, but he's not just carrying in his top lane. He's not just bullying Stark around. He is straight up utilizing his kit from the moment he ticks over. As Levi's pretty much just dying to wolves, trying to stop Stomage.
Well, I hope that ground was worth it. Stomage did get out though. Levi's definitely having a harder game than he did last time around. Able to start stacking up those kills, and turnabout's fair play for Stomage as he takes out some jungle of Levi's.
And for what it's worth, the fact that he's 0, 1, and 2, you feel hard done by for Supermassive at this stage. All the pressure they've placed down onto him, you'd expect a couple more deaths, but Archie sacrifices himself once again. This is the second death now for Archie to keep Levi alive. They know what their goals are, and they're working around it. However, it's pretty hard to deal with an Ivern.
Yep. Well, you can just take your jungle away just like that. Not a whole lot left for you to be able to do. Optimus, though, could be the difference maker as he's heading down once again to the bottom side of the map. You can see instantly reacting Supermassive. They back up for just a second. Stomage sitting on a ward. So the lay of the situation is known by Gigabyte Marines.
Yeah, in the Battle of the Wards, Optimus placed a control ward. They can see where Stomage is. He was actually waiting for Optimus to show up, but he turns back up in the middle lane. Still a lot of pressure needs to be placed down in this lane, at least controlling the minions before the Syndra starts to leave again, or the turret does slowly become at risk of dying. As these, you guys all need to just calm down for a second, all right?
Bot lane can't stop, won't stop. Looks like Rusty Zeit not going to be able to clear away this wave. It has been traded back and forth, but you can see the farm difference that Slay has got on Zeitnot. But now, Collapse might be coming in towards the mid. Stomage and Naru making their way towards that lane.
It looks like they're actually going to go and try and defend their own blue buff as it spawns. Stomage going to walk his way towards that potentially. And Levi going to secure a Scuttle Crab before he walks in. Could mean that he's now spotted by Vision. It'll be too risky for him to go in. Knowing Levi, there's still a chance he does.
Yeah, but Naru's right on top of him. Level 7 Jace. Levi's still on 5. Can't really get a whole lot out of his own jungle as it's all still on cooldown. And now Stark's actually trying to make some tracks. Let's see where he heads.
And again, really good pressure now from Supermassive. They're playing more so a game that they want to be a part of.
Slow it down. Don't let Gigabyte Marines get out to a flying start.
Yeah.
Like they did in game 1.
The major conflicting problem for them once again is the state of this bottom lane. 0-0-3 CS advantage, experience advantage, everything you could want from their bottom lane of Slay and Archie. Surprisingly so, because that's meant to be where the carry is for the team.
Yeah, it's got to be a bit disorienting if you're Supermassive to see your star AD carry kind of fall down a little bit to what Slay and Archie have been bringing out, but there is other sources of damage. They have Fabulous on this mid-game Rumble. They have Naru on the Jace. If you can win 2 out of 3 lanes, it doesn't really matter if the bot lane's not able to do it.
Yeah, and this Rumble is hard winning. You can see why it was banned away from him in game number 1. He's just completely zoning away Stark, denying experience, denying gold, all of the farm in the world. Stonmage is able to control the 1v1 because the lanes are pushing, and every time Archie shows up, they collapse.
Yep, you can see the experience advantages between the jungle and the mid lanes. It's going to even out now as Optimus hits level 8, just barely. 3 members of Supermassive here. They're moving around in this mid lane. See if they can get a push off. They grab a catch onto Optimus. That's huge, but he's got both summoners to work with.
If Ivern hits a Q, though, I don't think it matters. He'll still die. That's what they're looking for. Karma could speed them up.
Oh, Ash Arrow. That's going to be the Q right now, but Optimus is trying to run. Doesn't even need the summoners, and he dodges the candy with the flare.
Takes a shot in the face as he shows his flare. I feel like the only reason he took the shot in the face was to show his flare, so
it's worth.
Yeah, that's a necessary sacrifice. Levi now threatening down in this bottom lane again. Turret's always a possibility, especially when the Ash Arrow is gone, which is why they're able to make plays a little bit more aggressively like this. In fact, they want the Ivern to come down. Otherwise, Levi would have shown himself before this stage. They're playing aggressively to try and bait it.
Instead of getting the fights into the turrets, they've instead been able to just wear it away, but now that might change. Zeitnot is dodging. In comes Levi. Whoa, that's a lot of damage.
Yeah, great damage, except that Stonmage is now here, so tactics handled, everything diffuses one more time. Still waiting for the item spikes for both of these teams just a little bit though. I'd say the Hex Drinker point is where Optimus can no longer kill Naru, so everything diffuses. The one big point of power, the one big position of strength for Supermassive is their teleporting member with a completed Leandries. He's had that for a little bit already. He is a monster.
Yeah, Fabulous looks to be the difference maker for Supermassive mid-game, but they have slowed this down. It's a very different game than what we saw in number 1. 500 gold the lead, and that's it, but it's Supermassive's favor. Dragon's still very important, but neither team has been able to get the sufficient edge to start rotating for that objective. No towers have gone down just yet. We have had a lot of chip damage, but a lot of it's in this bottom lane with Slay and Archie just able to peck away at the Supermassive bottom tower.
Yeah, and you feel like all of this pressure will slowly start to mount into a final crescendo through the laning phase in particular. And once again, whilst we said there's a power point in the Rumble, you would imagine even before the lanes are looked at, before the turrets are even considered, you may want to fight for the Drake if you were Supermassive, but it comes down and it stems from controlling the 2v2. So you need Stonmage to either help out, you need Naru to push and then rotate, or you need Fabulous to teleport to a lane to influence it before they consider that Drake. But using ultimates, something that Supermassive did in game number 1, you can't afford to waste more than just an Ash Arrow or 2 to 3 ultimates and then fight for an objective unless the ultimates secure kills. They need to actually play more methodical right now as they're trying.
You have to watch for Optimus as well. Arlenomicon completed.
He may not
no chance to steal the blue buff because he just takes it away. Gonna have all that extra regen, but you can see where the vision game is going for Supermassive. A lot of control wards in this river and around it, looking to secure that dragon. And even inside the Gigabyte Marines jungle, as Levi's a little busy up on the red buff. Instead of rotating for a quick push, they just don't have the damage for it instead.
And he's never really fallen behind. That's the important part. Stonmage has taken blues, he's invaded the jungle, taken Gromps away.
Gone in on Archie.
Damage. But still, Levi exists. He is not behind. He's still able to do a lot of damage. Has isolated targets. Increase that with evolving his Q. He's set to go, set to make picks. But it's all about who comes down. It does feel like it's all coming down to the bottom lane. That's basically what everybody's looking at right now.
Yeah, that's the one thing that definitely hasn't changed from last game, but all that vision right now. If Supermassive can use it to their advantage to get themselves a fight, that starts to change things. But they're right now just waiting and biding their time. Teleports on both top laners. Stark being pushed back in by Fabulous, but he turns in, gets the bop. Still burning a little bit low, and you can see that it just hasn't been a huge amount of damage on this tower. Stark's still able to push it back.
Yeah, just trading in moderation. Fabulous isn't actually going to kill Stark. It's going to take a very long amount of time to kill the turret alongside that. Basically, at the moment, he's just keeping him there, preventing him from being able to push the lane and leave the lane at all. If he teleports, Rumble will know, and you have to say that Rumble will potentially just match it.
Now, Stark might have pushed a little too far here. He does have reinforcements on the way. He's able to dash. Equalizer thrown down by Fabulous. Oh, the barrel is going to get him a little bit closer, but in comes Levi as Redemption comes down. Maybe a little too late. Daisy's going to tag her way in. Levi turns around, and that's a lot burned here as Optimus and Naru are on their way. Oh, he's been spotted. There we go. To the skies he goes, but he's knocked back into the tower. The power's unleashed. Staying alive, Optimus has to flash, but he's tethered up by Dumble Doge. Let's see if they have the damage to finish the job. Shock Blast, just a Teemo away. With Levi and Stark waiting in the wings, it looks like it's going to be a tower push instead.
And from what was the setup in the bottom lane, from Vision in the bottom lane, you calm down.
Oh, Zeitnot, he's in trouble. Archie, he just keeps two-stepping, though. That's 3 shots in the curtain. Oh, poor dodge. Zeitnot putting on the fancy dancing shoes is now. The tower falls up top for SuperMassive. This is looking better for this team.
He's just doing the salsa on the spot at the moment, just dodging every single ultimate. Slay, that could have been a kill potentially. They still get the flash out of the Ashe. And now they siege, or at least pressure potentially this bottom lane out. All the pressure, the rest of the map, they were all on the top side, including Dumbledore for a time there. And so this is allowed to happen. The pressure is still going to be there. They're not far away from breaking it. You'd say that a Kha'Zix coming down might actually be enough.
But now in goes Naru and Stomage. Optimus is isolated, caught out before Levi can get there. Naru taking him down with a hammer, but in comes Stark. Fabulous not too far away, but is he gonna have any allies to go to? As Levi is taken out before he can finish off Naru. In comes Archie to try and get the job done. He does. And now Stark turning on for Stomage. That's a double kill for Fabulous, but it looks like Stark's gonna come back in. Or is it? SuperMassive tagging in with Fabulous and Double Doge. That's a triple kill for the Rumble.
5-1-0 has got his items, is massive at the moment, and Fabulous is going absolutely berserk right now. Somebody stop him.
Explosive mid lane, mid game we're having right now, and it looks like we're gonna get ourselves another tower here. Rusty, Fabulous will march the minions in to finish the job, and Gigabyte Marines may have been winning on bottom. It's like we said, you get 2 out of 3 lanes, you're not doing too bad.
And yeah, Gigabyte Marines, they're winning in the one place you don't actually expect them to be winning, but Optimus having no flash from earlier means that Stomage is able to easily just waltz into that lane. Flashing using your Q from Naru, slowing him down enough, acknowledging that there's no escape. Very clever stuff here, but still, we're looking at a sizable gold lead towards SuperMassive. We have to see if they can follow this through, carry this one out, because it all revolves around their top laner.
But credit where it's due to Zeitnot. Isolated in a 1v2. He finds himself safe, and Optimus is not so lucky. Hammer comes in, but Levi tags. Uh-oh, Naru gonna get taken down. Levi tasted his fear before Stomage could arrive, and Optimus was the bait.
Every 1v1 is interesting decision here as Slay.
There's a lot of them.
Because nothing's really a 1v1 at this stage in the game. Everyone's nearby.
Yep, including Daisy.
Ashe has arrow.
Dragon seems to be the idea as Stark comes in looking for Dumble Doge, does not find Body Slam.
Rumble's coming down from above them. Watch for the equalizer.
Walking, here it goes. Archie burning low, and Slay got out from the rest of the team. Now Levi turning around on the side, trying to get the claws in onto Stomage. But his bark, well, it's about as bad as his bite at this point. Stark is trying to get his way away with the barrel. He deals some damage to Zeitnot, but the arrows are going to find their way for a kill finally as Levi gets to the relative safety of the tower. But nowhere is safe from this 7-1 Rumble. Zeitnot coming in to close the gap as well. The arrows keep him slowed, and that's going to be the end of that. It looks like this will be dragging the way of SuperMassive.
And he doesn't want the 8-1. He wants to give a kill over the Ashe, and fair enough, honestly. SuperMassive just come into game number 2. We wondered if they could bounce back after the first one, but you know what? The answer is a resounding heck yes. Slay also getting caught out of position during this replay, starts it off. The Gragas comes in through the Dragon Pit. He's here well and truly first, and they know. They actually ping that Fabulous is coming, but still they choose to fight this, and by not being able to get a kill, having to walk backwards, you're locked into an area you definitely do not want to be, and Slay had nowhere to go, so he just dies. Stuck. Well and truly going to be stuck. Again, Ivern going to lock you down. Karma has slows. Ashe has slows. Once you're stuck, you are stuck.
Yeah. We talked about what SuperMassive can do when they find themselves picks, well, it was one after the other, and with Fabulous coming in, this Rumble is rolling. They've got shields for days, Stomage, Dumbledoge. It's coming through for them. And now it's up to Gigabyte Marines to try and stop this. 6,000 gold advantage, the Dragon Edge. 19 minutes into this game, it's been a very different style of game, and it's not one that the Marines are comfortable with.
And still, you'd have to say that most of the advantage, most of the gold still goes towards the Rumble in particular. So there are ways with which the Gigabyte Marines can navigate themselves around. Yeah, speaking of gold leads, they can try and avoid the Rumble. They can play that game. It's not always successful, though. Yeah,
Levi's trying to be the hero, but Fabulous can't avoid that Rumble as he comes on in. Levi, oh boy, he goes right in. Flash followed by Fabulous and Stark. Tries his chances, but realizes he doesn't have the combo. Oh, in comes Optimus with the aggressive Flash. Power unleashed right on top of Fab, and he gets himself a kill. Shutdown gold.
No chance the Zonias, to say the least. Not going to be able to find anything past that point. Really clever from Optimus, flashing in immediately as the stun connects, ensuring that he just dies. No support going to be available from the rest of the team, but that doesn't mean that SuperMassive walk away empty-handed. They still kill Levi. A sick flash from Fabulous. The timing was actually close to picture perfect, knowing exactly where he was going to go because he wanted to smite the blue buff and get some health back. The idea was cool. We'd probably say that he should have jumped towards his Syndra, who had a stun ready.
Well, as good as Levi is, nobody is immune to making mistakes. As we're finding out, SuperMassive still keeping the waves pushed, keeping their lead, despite losing Fabulous for just a moment. He's got backup, he has teleport up and available, and he's not the only one that's really going to be scaling up right now. We can see Naru picking up his BF sword, a couple others starting to scale up forward on this Jace build, the armor penetration.
Yeah, Naru's rather large. Once he had the Hex Drinker, there was really nothing that was going to just outright stop him, but so the Gigabyte Marines are doing the opposite of what we suggested they may want to. Winning this game, they could avoid Fabulous. They could just keep Stark up there, just try and hold on in the 1v1 pressure him, but Stark's going for armor. He's actually stacking resistances for team fighting now instead of going for the Spirit Visage or something else. Like, that's fine, that's justified. But if I was him, that cloth armor would actually become a banner of command. Then I would just put that into the Rumble lane, say, have fun, I'm leaving. I'm gonna go team fight now.
Yeah, I think Fabulous might leave as well. Let that wave just push in as it's more useful elsewhere, but we get a small moment to kind of breathe. This game started out a little slower as the way SuperMassive wanted it to happen, but then everything kind of exploded in the mid lane. A little unlucky smite by Levi.
I love that Stomage can't just kill it either. He has to sit there and channel as a Raptor with no health.
Ooh, wow. They throw down an Equalizer to just try and push them off the tower here. They have enough damage to finish it off. Sidenaut's not here. They are able to get it down at least a third of the way. SuperMassive looks like they were a little indecisive after Fabulous pulled the trigger. There's cooldown on his Equalizer now.
Yeah, and Ashe didn't arrow. They could have Ashe arrowed. Zeitnot has been one of the best Ashes and simultaneously one of the most underwhelming Ashes in the same tournament. And so far, this has not been the I'm going to throw my ult out willy-nilly and just try and catch everybody that I can type of Zeitnot. This is a much more slow-paced, calm Ashe now.
Well, even if he has been playing a little further back, the rest of the team, not so. You see where the vision has started to shift for SuperMassive. It is 22 minutes into the game, so we do have Baron on the Rift. Still would be very early attempt from SuperMassive. Obviously, Gigabyte Marines were able to do it last time when they had a massive gold lead. But SuperMassive play things out a little slower, a little safer. They don't want to give away any objectives to the Gigabyte Marines.
And they're still farming well. It's not like the gold difference has just been, like, exacerbated out of control for the rest of the map. It is still mostly like a 3k advantage towards the Rumble, and that's the biggest difference. Like, Stomage is reasonably far ahead. He's a little bit further ahead of Levi, and that's going to be a big deal. But Kha'Zix, once he gets the Black Cleaver, if someone's isolated, it doesn't matter too much. Syndra can still one-hit people, even if Syndra's slightly behind, because Syndra is, believe it or not, Syndra.
And Optimus is Optimus.
Yes, and he will go for those plays. So there are still things there, but SuperMassive are, honestly, they're just looking much more dominant, much better between games 1 and 2.
Nice turnaround to see from these guys, especially after getting crushed by Flash Wolves. You can think that'd be demoralizing for anybody, to be honest, but they've taken heart from the fact that they can turn things around after a really difficult loss, and we might have ourselves a serious series on our hands, Rusty.
It's not a complicated recipe to beating the Gigabyte Marines, let's be clear. SuperMassive actually just had a laning phase where they didn't outright implode. Their bottom lane's still not performing to expectations just yet, but they are playing a little bit better as they've kicked off a Baron.
It's in the dark right now. Gigabyte Marines, they actually aren't going to go and check it.
I feel like they have to, but they're walking the safe way. This is still taking an awful lot of time. That ward reveals that it's being done.
Yeah,
100%.
and now Levi's here.
Might be too late, though.
Teleport coming in, it's down to 3,000. All of a sudden, SuperMassive get cold feet. Curtain Call's going to get burned, though.
Yeah, so they just pushed them away. The teleport had to be completed. He was actually in bottom lane, so now he's stuck here. Fabulous has teleport, so that was a really good play. Very cerebral stuff, honestly. Now they can set up for it one more time. Slay.
Down he goes. Oh, they just burned through his health bar right quick as Stomage takes the brunt of the damage. Return fire from Gigabyte Marines. The barrel's going to bop Naru back with redemption, keeping them healthy as they look to finish this fight. Stark's going to have to flash his way to freedom, and now without the minions, wait just a second, and SuperMassive are right back on this mid-tier 2. No problem polishing it off.
And there's the Ash Arrow right from Zeitnot. So they get a kill, they get a turret, they push everyone from Gigabyte Marines away.
Isolated. Kept Levi and Stark off of this one. He's going to have to dash the wall just to get back into his own base. And now Stomage and Naru still trying their luck on this mid-turret. But all of a sudden, in comes Optimus, gets a 3-man scatter. But can they shred his health bar? Got him stuck on the tether, but that was Azanya's timing just to survive. Now Stark's gone up, Fabulous goes in as well. But he might not be as lucky as Optimus here. That health bar's looking mighty low, and it's a shutdown from Levi.
Optimus barely staying alive. Levi not done. They're going to continue to try and pressure for this.
Nice dodge. No
Levi has flash.
Kha'Zix. In comes Stark. He tries to get the damage out. Daisy is going to distract them now, but in comes Naru. Realizes maybe he doesn't want that. Stomage way too low to get involved. Double doge as well.
There it is.
Oh! And Slay's getting some revenge.
And they just keep pressuring. Use the minions, try and pressure the middle lane turret. We see if they could actually do it, because it looks like SuperMassive have to go to base. And here's the pressure. It continues.
Zeitnot, 1 shot, 2 shot, dodges 3. The final one.
Oh,
it almost clips him.
He cannot get hit by those Jhin ultimates.
But Gigabyte Marines get themselves a tower in the mid. This was all SuperMassive pushing their luck.
It was, yes. SuperMassive could have been happy with just a turret. They could have actually slowed down. They thought they caught Optimus here. He should have been dead, but he has Azonia's Hourglass. This is where they actually commit. Levi got so many rotations of his spikes off, and I don't think Fabulous wanted that just quietly. I actually would imagine that he made a mistake there, and now has to spend the whole time running away, but they're able to lock him down. I think it was even Dangerous Game that helped keep Optimus alive after that kill. This is the stage where you work around the Kha'Zix W and the Jhin W. Lock them down, which is why he flashes here. Flash, slow them down, and they just didn't have the W up yet, unfortunately. But no, I don't even think he wanted to go onto that, the Q that hits, but he follows it through, has to run away, and that's where the kills break out. As hello.
Speaking of Naru, all right, he gets turned into a Munchkin. Stomage is coming in, stopping up Stark. Ash Arrow's going to split the uprights, unfortunately, and that gives away that the rest of SuperMassive are not far behind. The Marines back off.
Yeah, unfortunately splits the wickets. Fabulous now going to go for an objective. He destroys that, by the way.
Yeah, able to get through the Ocean Drake pretty easily. It's not as fancy as, or as valuable maybe as the big and bad Infernal Drake, but a little bit of regen never hurt anybody, and SuperMassive are able to pick that up now. Still controlling both sides of the river, but Gigabyte Marines are showing their teeth.
Yeah, they definitely are. They're never going to go down without fighting. I think that is fair to say. But SuperMassive with the advantage, still with the gold lead, still with the item lead, and a massive rumble to boot. This is that point in the game where an objective is the name. And that's where they want to be fighting. They've got a composition to fight around it. They've got an Ivern to brush it off. The equalizer will get laid down, and the red carpet kills everybody.
Yep. And Naru, once again, we've been talking about him a little bit here and there, but he has been quietly getting stronger, able to dish a lot of damage on those shock blasts. The poke is starting to get a little difficult to deal with, and if they can poke the Gigabyte Marines out, that might mean the difference, well, between a Baron and no for SuperMassive.
Yeah, absolutely. Next Drake also being an Infernal. It's going to be a little while away, but again, another point of contention, the kind of Drake that you'll have to fight for. As this Baron starts up, we look towards the vision of both of these teams. In the pit, there should not be anything for the Gigabyte Marines, but around it, they secured the scuttle. They have a couple of wards here and there, but they're starting to run quite low on teleport wards. Stark now in a side lane. This is the window of opportunity that we've been talking about. The Rumble's now bottom. He's going to have Gragas down here. Gragas can choose now. Does he want to stop the teleports or does he want to be a part of the fight himself? Because when they acknowledge it's a 4v4, they can actually look to make plays or try and generate picks.
Yeah, that could be the big difference maker. When you have a lot of gold on your Rumble, on your teleport, that's sometimes the weakness if he's not able to get involved in time. And there are a lot of tools in the Gigabyte Marines composition right now to kind of deal with it here. We've already seen what happens when Optimus is able to throw a faceful of Unleashed Power into any of these teams. Stomage, he's still able to tank up quite a lot, but they really need to be in the right place at the right time. And SuperMassive just have been pushing their luck a little bit in that mid tower. That really started to turn things around for them, and you can see them playing a little further back now, a little less certain than they were earlier in the game.
A little bit of importance also hinging on the level 16 spike for both of these teams. Very Fabulous also locking that one in first. The level 3 equalizer can be a game changer. It already was, but now it can be a little bit more so of one. Not just that, Levi very dependent on having his evolves up, and Optimus increasing the burst that can come through. So all of these things are starting to crash over, not just item spikes, but level spikes to be seen. Void Staff starting to be locked in for these teams, so the damage is becoming very much a big deal.
Snowman just locked up. See how much he can survive. That is a lot of damage dealing out to him, but he's able to stay alive. That's a huge shield right now as Optimus can't quite burn through. Levi looking for more on Dumbledoge, who flashes away. 5 members of the Gigabyte Marines here, but Fabulous has not joined the fight just yet, looking for the cutoff. And now they're backing away. This is going to be the Baron start for SuperMassive.
They bring out the Cupcake to try and help tank the Baron just a little bit. They are aware that it's being done. Levi, the King of Steals. Is this something that you want to actually do in front of him?
Doesn't look like it, but Fabulous is caught. He's going to have to go golden right now in a redemption. Naru goes in. That is bold, my friend, and he is going to fall to Levi. 5v4 now as SuperMassive taking down to 0. Optimus with a big kill up, and that, without the ult, makes it look easy.
And suddenly all of the pressure around the Baron pit subsides for SuperMassive. The Gigabyte Marines should not look to do the objective. They're doing the smart play. Take the turrets, get the goal back towards your favor, or as close as you can towards doing so. However, trades in the middle lane. They're trying to do the best they can to respond to this. Gigabyte Marines, they've got Syndra to defend. They should be okay with no Ash Arrow up.
And Stark is just tanking the turret until the minions arrive right now. With Optimus there, easy peasy clear of the wave, and it looks like it's going to be a 2-for-0 tower trade off the back of that fight. Gigabyte Marines find their opening and immediately punish.
This is a really good trade from the Gigabyte Marines. Credit where it's due. The gold difference is effectively pretty much down to nothing. It's just the Rumble, but they've taken so long to get those 2 turrets. The death timers are still reasonably low. The Baron can just be done by SuperMassive if they catch everybody going to base. So
looks like they caught Stark. This is dangerous though. Only 2 members here with Stomage and Zeitnot. Ash Arrow comes in, dodged by Slay here.
They still go straight to the Baron. Doesn't matter if the Ash ultimate's down. They've got the Rumble equalizer. He held onto it. It's the right move. They force this. They prevent the Gigabyte Marines from recalling. And honestly, as it stands, fighting for this is far too dangerous. They have to go for a steal.
Going for the rush right now. It's down to 8,000. The rest of the Gigabyte Marines are here. A little bit low health bar on Levi, but can he get the big steal? Optimus around the side. They turn to the fight, looking for Stark. He pushed too far forward, but he gets a big barrel, looking for Zeitnot, but Optimus is by himself as Fabulous picks up the Gigabyte Marines jungler, and now the tables have turned. Stark has got a wild growth on, but he's also got a tether. Has to walk away. No smite steal available. SuperMassive realize they can turn back for the Baron.
And they could have went for the steal. Instead, they choose to go for the fight. Just trying desperately to... I don't know what he's aiming for. It doesn't matter.
Slay's got Stormtrooper syndrome right now. It looks like nothing doing as he sends a last shot flying. The Baron is going to go the way of SuperMassive. It looked rough for these boys for a minute, but they get right back into it. 33 minutes, Baron goes their way.
Nothing in the world was going to stop them after making this decision. SuperMassive, they catch Gigabyte Marines being far too straightforward with it. We get to watch the Baron fight one more time. Stark's just far too forward. They catch Fabulous, but on top of an equalizer, Levi just dies. And then he's able to flash out. Summoner's there in a battle of the mid laners and the top laners finding each other. The team that's gone back to base has their items, has their mana, has all of their cooldowns available, are always going to win that one. That's the kind of inexcusable mistake, capitalizing on the aggression out of the Marines. It happens all the time.
Over-reliance on aggression. You can see even with 3 members left alive, they thought they wanted to go back in until Naru shot him with the Shock Blast, and now another Infernal Dragon goes the way of Supermassive. They've got 240 on the Baron buff. They've got 2 Infernals. They've got regen in the form of that Ocean Drake. It's hard for Gigabyte Marines to fight extended against Supermassive.
So they're pretty much set to go. There's a bit more when we're talking about Reliance actually hinging on the Syndra stun, the Jhin also hitting the W. It is still a pick composition, right? And whilst it's now hard to generate those picks to actually get a numbers advantage on Summoner's Rift, they can still try their best. But we are looking at the Supermassive side. They've got the Baron. The Turkish team should be set to even this series up. If they can just break the base.
That is always the question. The last time they got anywhere near it, well, Fabulous went a little bit too deep, followed the Licorice, and pretty much got melted through by Optimus here. But this is later on in the game. They've learned from their mistakes, or so it would appear, as they were able to turn a bad fight, even around the Baron, into another big victory, pushing on multiple waves.
Just waltzes everywhere and is a cupcake. Like, it's just weird.
I won't argue with you, Rusty, but I just accept these things. I roll with them.
It's mildly disturbing. They're threatening top lane now as well. Sorry, it's just distracting watching an ugly creature like that. No, he's beautiful. Don't listen to me.
Well, your trepidation aside, Supermassive aren't afraid of pushing up towards this top. Levi's already getting chunked low. Naru is starting to get huge on this chase here, and now 4 members trying to stay strong here. In comes Optimus looking for a pickoff onto Naru, but the shield's keeping him relatively healthy. Optimus has already unleashed the power. There's not a whole lot more for him to do.
No, Optimus loses the trade whilst using his ultimate. Naru doesn't have an ultimate to use, so that speaks towards Supermassive. Now threatening the inhibitor turret. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of options here for Gigabyte Marines.
Not a whole lot. Base is broken open. Now inhibitors are next on the menu. Stark trying to hold the line, but he's having trouble just dealing with Daisy. As Optimus comes in, gets a scatter, but it's only onto Stomage, and now inhibitors going down. This has been a lot slower of a game for sure. As the equalizer goes in, redemption's on. Can Gigabyte Marines stay alive? And Stark and Archie getting healed up, but the curtain is calling. Stomage getting chunked. 1, 2, 3, intercepted by Fabulous, who goes golden, looking for Stark, looking for Optimus. Naru goes into the skies, and now they're gonna take down the rest of the opposition. Slay and Levi, last man standing as Stark comes back up, only to go back down. That's a double kill for Zeitnot. And just like that, Supermassive wipe out the Gigabyte Marine.
And Supermassive, they wanted to even this series up. They do not bow down to their opponents.
You got the one-man flare. Supermassive got it 5 ways. That's going to be the 1-1. And they answer back. They answer the question. After one big loss, they can turn it around.
Absolutely. The mental reset was there. That's a big game victory for them. If it was a 2-0, that could have been a cause for concern, but not to be seen. They're set to go. They picked themselves the Ivern. They picked themselves the Karma with the team composition, and they actually build themselves something that it makes a lot more sense to what Supermassive want to do.
Well, and they gave Gigabyte Marines all the tools they wanted, just like last game, but they learned how to play around it with some better tools of their own. The Ivern was actually critical, but also that Jace was solid. They had so many ways to protect their carries, and it worked out.
And that's the important part, not losing your laning phase, just getting through to the mid-game, being able to find a place in the game where you can actually be a slow team, make the right decisions. But most importantly, making the right decisions in this set seems to be picking up on what the Gigabyte Marines are doing and just besting it, one-upping it every single time, because they will play over-aggressive to a fault at times.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Gigabyte Marines, it kind of bit them in the behind, so that's why we're sitting at the 1-1 series. But Supermassive, it wasn't flawless. They still made some mistakes. We saw what happened in the mid lane. We saw what happened on the first Baron attempt, but they didn't shrink away from it. They kind of went back in. They played it safe. Like, okay, we're going to throw the wards around, and that they saw Optimus coming a mile away, and they were able to turn for him once the Gragas barrel came in.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. Honestly, it was not a flawless performance out of the Supermassive side. However, comparing games 1 and 2, that
starkly
was
different.
Monumentally better from them.
Oh yeah, huge improvement. We'll see if they can carry it through. But for now, we're going to check in with the analyst test to see what they make of Supermassive's victory.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Of course, I think the first thing we have to talk about is the changes to the draft phase in this game. Felt like a big part of why Supermassive were able to find that win.
Yeah, the key difference was that the Ivern came through for the side of Supermassive. We saw everything else pretty much exactly the same, except for the fact that Supermassive said, you know what, we need a new jungler in. Right now, the interesting thing here is the fact that Gigabyte Marines chose not to pick an early jungler here. They had the option for getting themselves Graves or for getting themselves I feel like, okay, Graves is really the only option that they have here. And I think that you just accept the fact that you're going to lose Jhin and you trade it for Graves, because that means you're guaranteed a strong jungle matchup. However, because they didn't do that, they then had a lot of their other junglers banned away, and you're seeing how much harder it is for a Kha'Zix to have an impact into an Ivern.
But I think we're seeing some things that TSM also kind of figured out is without the Ziggs, without the Ashe after that has been taken away already, there's a high dependency for some reason on Jhin here. There are a lot of AD carries that can fulfill this role, and Ezreal would be able to play more defensively. We have seen if paired with the Lulu, you can play Kog'Maw quite effectively as well, but we're seeing from Slay a bit of a narrow scope in on this Jhin, and as you said, it ends up costing them in the jungle pool in response to it.
Like, I think that it's, I think you're right in the sense that they're putting a lot of emphasis on to get Slay on something that he's comfortable on. But I don't know, in terms of what are the options you have, right? It's actually pretty difficult because playing into the Ivern and Rumble as well, like, I don't even think that, especially if you're going to leave Rumble open, like, because they banned it in the game before, they decided to ban away the Nautilus instead because they considered that to be a bigger problem. And then you give the option for Supermassive top laner to be able to pick that champion that does extremely well, because every time he ults, the Rumble just ults on top of you, right? And then you just lose all your damage on Jhin. So.
And this is why I think it's actually good drafting from Supermassive. That's why we're seeing the Ashe priority early on. I think the adjustment we'll see in the next game might not even be the Rumble ban. I think the Ivern ban in exchange for the Varus they've been throwing out, it might throw a few different options into the mix. Maybe the Varus gets opened up for the Gigabyte Marines themselves.
And it just felt impossible for the Kha'Zix, for the Syndra to really have impact once we got into that mid game and the Ivern and the Karma were online. But when we look at the early game, there were still some pretty big points of weakness on the side of Supermassive. We saw their bot lane fall behind once again, despite a successful early 1-for-1. As we look at this tower dive executed on the side of Gigabyte Marines, the start definitely did not look good for them.
So this is a common play that the Gigabyte Marines did during the group stages on the second day of groups, where they basically, we didn't get to see the full setup of that, but basically they made sure that they had push in mids, and then they had their jungler draft around to the bottom lane. This is a very common strategy that you use when you have a winning bot lane. Now, this came from the fact that once again, we saw Slate and Archie win out on what was effectively a 2 versus 3, but making the best out of a bad situation. So they were able to get a very early spike onto their AD carry, put the Ashe behind in terms of experience, and then you're in a really good position to then push that underneath the tower, and then make that map movement. And ideally, you want to be able to take that tower. But unfortunately for the Gigabyte Marines, they couldn't do it, which means that the laning phase got extended. So overall, Supermassive still got what they wanted, which was reach the mid-game point with this Ivern effectively playing the protect the carry role.
And of course, the difference between Game 1 and Game 2 is very visible in the gold of the 80 carries. We took a look at it. Game 1, you see Slay is up 1,900 gold at 10 minutes. This game only up 500. Yes, still at advantage, but not absolutely crushing the laning phase in the same way that we saw in Game 1.
Yeah, and a lot of the plays that are getting the leads came before Ashe was really effective. Like, in the first game, we saw 2 ganks pre-6 on the Ashe. This time, the one that worked out for them. But from there, I had a lot less confidence this game watching Slay play the Jhin when he wasn't 3-0. Now, I know that sounds really stupid, and of course, when you're 3-0, you're going to play better, but I think it was the decisions that the Gigabyte Marines were making on where and when to fight in the mid portions of the game that Supermassive were just playing quite hands-off. They weren't necessarily taking trades like they were in the first game, and I think that adaptation makes it very difficult for Slay to know where he can actually start his ultimate, because a couple of times it was going awry.
See, I disagree slightly, because I think that the pressure wasn't really on Jhin to perform. I think the real issue for Supermassive was the fact that this Rumble was going off, right?
Sure.
This Rumble got super fed, and when you're a Jhin, you really have you struggle to have the same sort of impact that you had. Like, even if Jhin had the same scoreline, if you're going up against a Rumble that was like 7-1 at one point, like, you're gonna have a rough time as an AD carry.
And it feels like really there were some moments where Gigabyte Marines did not respect the Rumble. And as we take a look at our Acer replay now, we can see 2 back-to-back fights where Supermassive are just able to turn this around using the power of Rumble. This one a bit drawn out, but does come in the end.
Right, and this is where the majority of the Rumble plays actually end up coming from. So you can see already by this time Optimus is out of the fight, the arrow comes in, and this is where Supermassive want to layer this. And you're right, it is a lot of pressure, and it's not necessarily just on the Jhin. You can see how far Gigabyte Marines are actually stretching to try and get kills here. Very extended fights, and shields are making it incredibly difficult. That one was an example of where Rumble just picks up 3 kills because he's just got Flamespitter running the entire time.
And Fabulous, he gets another fantastic flank off with his team right here, because bear in mind, the bottom lane with Supermassive, they're just trying to keep Gigabyte Marines is busy as long as they can. Notice that Optimus is nowhere near the fray. He realizes that he can't join the fight, and then you have this great equalizer to cut off the rest of the team. And I think that it is worth highlighting how well SuperMassive were able to utilize this lead that they had been able to get themselves, because things were looking a little rough. It was early game was not optimal for them. However, SuperMassive were able to match some of the skirmishes and pressure the Gigabyte Marines were able to put down, and then whenever they saw a few windows, they were able to push them and snowball their lead in front.
Yeah, and when you combine your 80 carry damage and your mid laner's damage and it doesn't out damage a Rumble, you know you're getting just spanked that game. And when we look at that fight too, the confidence from Fabulous to flank on Rumble, if he's behind, maybe that Kha'Zix can just one-shot him. But he knows he's ahead, has the confidence to come in by himself on a flank, and it's just brutal to play against. We did see that Rumble banned away in Game 1. Do you think this is something that has to be taken off the table here in Game 3?
I don't think it's necessarily something that has to be taken off the table, because a lot of the later game fights actually heavily went in favor of the Gigabyte Marines, and that's largely because they got better at playing around the Rumble Ultimate. The big pick, I think, is this Ivern, right? Yep. Not only did you have a not great matchup of the Kha'Zix into the Ivern, but I also think that SuperMassive just know how well to play with this champion. The fact that you have a Syndra trying to shut down one single target, and then you have both the Karma and the Ivern shields to immediately keep them alive. The fact that you have multiple carry threats for the Ivern to play around also made it extremely difficult. So I think that if you're the Gigabyte Marines, you either have to take Ivern off the board, or you have to put a higher priority on getting Levi a better jungle matchup.
And I'm curious, so are we taking Ivern off the board in the first ban phase? Because so far we've seen Galio, Kate, Varus remain the consistents.
Stop banning Galio. Just stop it. I do not, like, I can understand why, but I also think that Galio is a champion you can very easily abuse and you can shut him down. And I think that the Gigabyte Marines could very well look to play through their top side if they just take that Galio back.
So that's something that I actually think should remain consistent in the Galio, because I don't have confidence in Stark to outplay the Galio that effectively. I think Stark is fairly neutral on the Gragas. You can play Galio into that Gragas matchup. I think it's the Varus that is actually undoing the Gigabyte Marines the most, because they don't have an 80 carry option once that Ashe is already gone. You then force SuperMassive into a situation where they perhaps have to prioritize their jungle as pick one. If you ban the Ivern, you can take something like a Lee Sin early for the Gigabyte Marines and just say, hey, we'll take Varus into the Ashe, no problem for us.
All right, well, no matter how you look at it, somebody needs to adapt their draft in Game 3, but SuperMassive adapted incredibly well in Game 2. We'll see if Gigabyte Marines can do the same in Game 3. The series will continue when we return.
A jab.